Hello, welcome to Sideways. The sound of the birds out here is almost being matched by the sound of the traffic now, which is a bit regrettable. Anyway, it's probably good to get back to some sort of normality, whatever that is. This week, we were talking about holidays and the pitfalls that await the recovering alcoholic. Martin's spelling mistake inadvertently makes us think about some of the places you'd definitely be well advised to avoid. And I reminisce about being thrown into the stinging nettles in the 1970s scouting movement. We find lots of good songs about holidays and discuss the smell of subways, the architecture, not the sandwich shop. Holiday stress.
Why have you got tea cozy on your head?
It's my aspire to be beanie.
Okay, why have I not got one?
Because they're a very limited supply.
That's not a very good answer, is it?
It's not good, but it's real.
Oh, you're keeping it real, are you, with your beanie on?
Check it. I am actually. Yeah, I'm feeling. My lockdown locks are they're well and truly under control under this hat.
Do you feel as if you're someone who suits a beanie?
Not really, no.
Oh.
But I just thought as I wore a hat last week, yeah. I thought I'd try a different one this week. And
is that going to be a common feature now?
What, a different hat?
Yeah.
Not really. It doesn't really work on the without video anyway, does it?
Well, it does if I take a clip of it and put it on Instagram.
Yeah, it does. But they look dreadful in those. So I'm not ready to go visual just yet.
What do you mean you look dreadful in those? Suggesting that's the only place you look dreadful. Well,
no, I'm not. It's just that I like to manicure myself before I go in front of the camera.
Anyway, that's it. Oh, now you've got a beanie with glasses on. Excellent. I tell you, you look like a bank robber now.
I look like Ali G.
You do look a bit like Ali G, actually.
Yeah.
You look a bit like Peter Wilshire.
Anyway, yeah. So how are you doing? Are you good?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, you?
I know. Yeah, I'm fine. I know we're recording this slightly later on in the day today, but I hope all is good at your end.
Yeah, I've just had to, reschedule things. So I got the dinner on early. So and I'll be planting some seeds after we're finished here. All the sorts of things you do when you're in the later stages of your life.
Well, quite, yeah. It all sounds very relaxing. Yeah. Mm. Well, I may get disturbed by my gammon timer going off, so I may have to cut in recording at some point. But I'm sure we better deal with that in the edit.
Is that a timer that only works with gammon? You called it a gammon timer. Does it only go off for gammon?
No, it's just that's why I ask it to say with Alexa. With Alexa.
Okay, so let's get in. Hang on, I'll have another go at that, shall I?
Go on.
Let's get on with it. What are we talking about?
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk. It was really following on from last week's episode regarding the anxiety that some people are facing when lockdown restrictions are eased, as you remember rightly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to discuss the anxieties that can come about when going away on holiday.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's something that keeps cropping up in groups. It's something I just wanted to run a few bits and pieces by you and discuss it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sounds good. Is anyone? Of course, at the moment, there's not much prospect of going on holidays there.
No, there isn't. But the media seem to think that everyone wants to dash off, abroad the minute we're allowed to.
Yeah.
But I think it's holidays or vacations for our American listeners.
We've got a lot of those,
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate that, don't you?
Yeah, howdy. I suppose we should say, shouldn't we?
I don't know. You might end up sounding patronising, mate. I should go easy there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. All right.
Anyway, they can offer up a pretty tricky set of circumstances for those in early recovery. But I think anxieties are there for everyone, aren't they?
What, around going on holiday?
Yeah. I mean, I've always had them. I don't know about you.
I'm not a great fan of holidays, so I suppose we've got to be a little bit careful here as we're talking about anxiety related to holidays. I don't want to, make the assumption about holidays that everybody feels like I do. I find holidays extremely stressful. I know a lot of people find holidays stressful in terms of the preparation and the travel and everything else. But I think there are probably a lot of people who quite enjoy being on holiday when they're on holiday.
Yeah.
So is that what you were kind of aiming at, talking about people who find the whole business of preparing and going on holiday stressful, or actually being away stressful as well?
Well, being away itself, which is more related to those people in recovery, but just winding it back just slightly. I mean, I've always worried about what can go wrong.
Yeah.
I've always felt I'm not so bad now, but it always used to blight my thought process as to what could possibly go wrong. And I don't particularly like flying. I always find it, you're the same as me. We're above 6 foot plus in height, and I always find the economy class really cramped.
I find the economy class really cramped, and I also worry about the plane falling out of the sky and me dying.
Yeah, it doesn't. It didn't used to worry me quite so much that aspect of it. It's just that loads of things can go wrong on holiday. And I know it's become worse when you watch these programs that are on TV, particularly dedicated to when holidays go wrong.
Don't watch them.
I don't. I must admit, I find them really stressful. But I remember as a kid. I mean, we used to go onto the continent a lot. And we're quite fortunate as kids, but it meant very long travel in the car. We could spend 2 or 3 days getting to a destination, which wasn't, which was quite tricky. 3 of us boys in the back seat of a Vauxhall Cresta going across the Alps in Switzerland. It was tricky. I think the only saving grace is my mum used to buy me the Shoot Summer Special or the Shoot Annual for me, so that I could read that, and it used to keep me quiet for hours on end.
I was going to say, you'd have read that by the time you got past Paris.
It was particularly thick, so it used to take me quite some time, and I used to make sure I used to read every article and every paragraph that was in there. I'd read, and I'd have little crosswords and stuff in there. But I used to. But I remember even then, I didn't used to like the travelling aspect of it, and it was. I always felt, and it did happen. I remember we broke down, was in the Alps on one occasion, and it was horrendous. I always worry about that sort of thing. But I think when you go into recovery, the first flushes of recovery can bring about this sort of newfound freedom, and the thought of a holiday at that point is very exciting. But we find, speaking to people before they go or once they've been, it can be fraught with dangers, and we don't recommend it at all in early recovery to if you can, to avoid holidays.
Is that in part because of the natural kind of hedonism that is associated with holidays?
There is. It is that, and I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail later. But there's so many stories of people returning that relapse on holiday. I remember a chap coming to groups, and he was about 3 years into his recovery, and he had gone on his own on holiday, which again can be quite tricky. But he went on a singles holiday, and he said within the first day, I think he'd had a beer, and by day 2 he was on to 10 pints, sort of thing. He'd really racked it up, and it completely ruined everything for his holiday. But he found it very stressful. That the whole situation, being on a singles holiday, I think he felt quite tricky, and then being around people everything seemed to be designed to overindulge.
Yeah, I think there might be something else that makes it difficult as well, which is, you remember we were talking a few weeks ago about the importance of having structure and routine in recovery.
I do.
Well, of course, going on holiday throws all of your structure and routine out of the window. So actually, in some ways, getting rid of your structure and routine is quite helpful. That's one of the ways in which going on holiday is helpful. It kind of is an interruption of the routine. But if you're in a place in your life where actually that structure and routine is part of what is keeping your head above water, or it's keeping you afloat, or any other metaphors I can think of involving water, then obviously it's likely to go the other way. It reminds me of how a lot of people have said to me in the past, people who don't sleep well, they say they can't sleep at all at home, but as soon as they go on holiday, they sleep perfectly. And that's the same sort of thing. It's pattern interruption. So I think with interrupting your patterns, it's important to kind of recognize whether pattern interruption is something that's going to be helpful to you or whether it's likely to be a hindrance. And of course, in the early stages of recovery, pattern interruption is not very helpful.
No, it isn't. I think that's a good point. And I think, if alongside that, we're conditioned to relax and party and overindulge when we go on holiday. And if you look at some, the holidays we went on before we went into recovery, it was almost totally that. Now I still avoid going on sort of stag do's now. I mean, I'd find that very tricky, and especially if you're going away in recovery, try and avoid those hedonistic destinations, like Ibiza or Magaluf or whatever's available to you. All these Torquay's very bad, or the all-inclusive deals. That seems to be one which. When you're when you are going through those routines of drinking very heavily on holiday, they're great. But as soon as you go into recovery, they're a complete no-no.
Yeah, I bet all-inclusive holidays are an absolute joy for the active alcoholic, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are, and because everyone else is joining in as well, and that the atmosphere around it. But you can drink, right from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. And so, yes, it's not good. It's not ideal.
Isn't it? I mean, that as an example, the kind of avoidance of all-inclusive holidays if you're in recovery, it sounds so obvious that I'm almost kind of tempted to say, do people really go into recovery and then take themselves off on all-inclusive holidays? Do people do that?
It's happened, and normally when they're part of a family group, that always go on them, and then suddenly they go into recovery, and they still want to go, but it's an extra hurdle, and so we do try and ask if they can, or try and advise them, I should say, to avoid it.
So there are kind of, you might be coming on to talk about this, but it sounds like there are kind of two issues here. One is if you're early in recovery, unless you're going on, some sort of holiday that is going to support and invigorate and strengthen your recovery, you're probably best avoiding them.
Yes.
But there are also those people for whom going into recovery represents some sort of return to normal existence. And they are understandably going to want to join in on a family holiday, aren't they? I mean, that's quite a tricky conflict they find themselves in there, isn't it?
It is, and that's why you have to think about it quite carefully, because that rushing headlong back into your old ways, we know is a recipe for disaster. So yeah, I mean, everyone wants to rejoin society. You don't want to recover just for the sake of being in recovery. You want to sort of rejoin and do some of the old stuff you used to do, but put it on hold for a while. You might miss one. You missed, like I missed a couple of weddings, but it meant that I could get my recovery under control. And I could then go ahead at a later stage and go to different weddings where if I hadn't got my recovery in place, I wouldn't be around to see them and to do them anyway. And I wouldn't, even if I had survived, I wouldn't be in a fit state. So it's just, you can rejoin, just take it easy.
Do you think that holidays also are a representation of another situation where there is a likelihood that the support of the people around us might go missing a little bit? When people first get into recovery and they're kind of reliant on the support of their friends and family to kind of strengthen their resolve, as you said before, when people go on holiday, they tend to kind of let go a little bit, don't they? And so I imagine the support and strength that you might be getting from friends and family in that situation might also start to waver somewhat.
It does, and I'll come on to that because I've got several bullet points as to what we tend to advise, for those people that are in recovery,
right,
and are going away as to how to approach it. But I mean, there's so many triggers. I mean, the first trigger you're going to find is going to be at the airport, isn't it? Most people want to have a few drinks before they fly. We touched on that in the past, where even though I wasn't particularly scared of flying, it gave me a great excuse. And there's so many bars everywhere, isn't there? And you're waiting for your plane. There's always delays, or there's something going on, and it's always quite a long routine after arriving at the airport before you actually get on the plane. It can be quite a long time. You have to book in several hours before, and you've got time to kill. So those bars look very enticing. And then you get the drinks on the plane, and then you get welcome drinks when you arrive at your place, your destination at the hotel. It just seems to me that it's very tricky in early recovery to not succumb to all of those triggers and temptations.
It makes me wonder whether you're right. I mean, I don't know whether that sort of experience of going on holiday is geared particularly towards overindulging, or whether, as British people, we tend just to gravitate towards anywhere we can get a drink.
Yeah, we do. And even the lazy days by the pool. I mean, I used to love those hotels where you'd have a swim up bar. You know, you wouldn't have to get out. Didn't have to get out the swimming pool. You could drink beer whilst you're still in the pool. I mean, it's geared towards overindulging. And as you say, us Brits abroad are not very good at controlling ourselves in those situations.
I mean, you are though. Kind of talking about package holidays there, aren't you?
You are.
If you kind of take yourself off, I don't know, and rent a villa somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, that might be a kind of different. Might be a different experience. Of course, you know, unless of course they've left you a nice bottle of local wine on the table.
Well, it's always in the fridge when you get there, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, no. Again, I will come on to that, but. It is. I mean, if I remember, a friend of mine used to have a bar in Zakynthos in Zante. I mean, for me at that time, he owned a bar, and so we went across there quite a lot. And that was, it meant effectively there was a bar open to me all the time, 24 hours. And although it was a nice holiday, they're very fuzzy. Thinking back on them, I mean, it was a total overindulgence. In fact, I remember. It was slightly out of town, so we used to jump on a moped myself, and it was my girlfriend at the time, who later became my wife. So we used to jump on a moped and go up there. Very dangerous, to be driving along Greek roads. No crash helmets, just on these mopeds. And I remember once we got to the bar, and she said to me, "I need to go to the toilet, but I don't, like same as a lot of people, I don't like to go in the public ones. She wanted to go back to her apartment." So she jumped on the moped and went back to the apartment, and she was gone for such a long time. I was getting worried about her, and she turned up back at the bar eventually in a different set of clothes. She jumped on the moped and she was going along. She was wearing this sort of flowing dress, and it got caught up in the sort of chain mechanism. It ripped her dress off. She was standing at the side of the road, semi-naked, with her dress, and so it knackered the bike up completely. And she was lucky someone came along and picked her up and took her back to the apartment, where she jumped in a taxi and came back. So that's another reason, you shouldn't be going around drinking in bars out in strange places.
Hang on, so let me get this straight. One of the reasons you shouldn't go drinking in bars in strange places is in case your dress gets caught in the mechanism of a moped.
Exactly, happens all the time.
I expect you lost your deposit on the moped, didn't you, that time?
No, I think we took it back and said she'd driven over some material in the road and it flipped up.
But isn't there also there must come a point when you're in recovery, there must come a point where you want to, I was going to use the phrase prove yourself there, but I know that's not right because that's just dangerous talk. And there must come a point where you want to be able to go and experience a holiday in a way perhaps you've never experienced a holiday before, i.e. actually doing some of the, doing some of the things that you were never able to do in the past because you're always, lying under a table.
Well, exactly. And you get a different mindset. But again, it's waiting until you get your recovery in the right shape before you do it. I mean, because I used to find also that, worries used to kick in towards the end of the holiday, which can be another trigger. I used to worry about travelling home, worrying about the delays. And again, the bars at the airport. I spelled bars wrong now. I've put Basra at the airport. I mean, you wouldn't want to go to Basra, would you, in Iraq? I mean, that would certainly be a trigger. If you got off the plane, you're in Basra, in war-torn Iraq.
I think that's it's certainly true that if you're early in recovery, you do not want to be going on holiday to Basra.
I don't. Anytime it's not an attractive place to go at the moment, is it?
Not really. We should perhaps you should make a list of places you shouldn't go early on in recovery.
That could be right near the top at the moment.
For any sort of brewery tour,
Yeah, that's
anything like that. Yeah, it's going to be.
Well, those single malt whiskey tours up in the Highlands of Scotland, not good, not good.
But when you're in recovery, you must sometimes. There must be a point, probably not very early in recovery, but there must get to the point where where some people feel a bit kind of blasé about their recovery, and they I know we're laughing about it and saying, well, you wouldn't want to go on a whiskey tour in the Highlands, but you must get to the point where you think, yeah, actually, I could probably handle that now. I mean, a lot of people must get to that point, surely.
You do. I mean, I think I'm at that point, but I would still go to places that aren't like that. I would still avoid it.
Yeah.
I think there's so many other options, aren't there? And when people are talking about going on holiday, obviously we try to encourage them to come to as many meetings as possible beforehand, to talk through any anxieties and sort of recharge your recovery before you go, so that you get yourself in the right frame of mind. And we advise, not to sit in those bars at the airport. There's other places you can sit, and don't look at those drink menus, that are on the tables that are on those bars.
Cocktails.
The cocktails. I mean, it just and the romanticising, because I think it's very easy to romanticise about, sitting on your balcony or on the patio in Italy or France and drinking some wine, etc. But once you start doing that, you've got to fast forward yourself to the potential hangover you're going to have and the shame that you're going to feel with lapsing and everything that goes with it. So it is a little bit of care that you need to take before you go.
Yeah, because that's even for people who don't drink a lot, the allure of alcohol abroad, sitting in the sun, having a beer, bottle, sitting on the balcony, as you say, having a nice glass of wine with dinner. That's powerful for even for people who aren't in recovery, who don't drink very much. I bet most people, not just because they want to cane it, but most people probably drink more on holiday than they do at home, because that's just that sort of atmosphere. So trying to resist it in recovery must be devilishly difficult.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just coming on to the point you mentioned before, was about staying in touch with the support network.
Oh, yeah.
For those people that are going abroad or going on holiday, stay in touch with your sponsor if you're in the fellowships and follow the 12 steps.
Your Gammon timer is up.
Can I just address that before I come back?
Your Gammon timer is up.
Thank you.
That's definitely staying in.
No, you can't leave that in.
I'm definitely going to, and you'll suddenly become very unpopular with all of our vegetarian and vegan listeners.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it can't be alienating all sorts. Anyway, I'll let you deal with that as you wish.
Oh, Will, don't worry. Where were we?
Where were we? We're talking about staying in touch with your support network.
Yeah.
Because obviously we have a WhatsApp group, so people can do that, and the online meetings that now are very prevalent. So we encourage people to make sure they come back onto the normal Zoom meetings if they can whilst they're abroad.
Oh, so do people do that?
Yeah.
I suppose I suppose there wouldn't have been that much opportunity to do that in the last year, would there?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't happened recently, but we've had. We encourage people to go to, because you can find an AA meeting virtually anywhere you go in the world. Yeah. So crack on and go to one of those just to boost your recovery.
Could you find one in Basra?
I was just thinking that. I doubt they've got one there. I think, isn't it a dry country anyway? Probably not allowed to have any.
Yeah, that's true.
Indulge anyway.
Yeah, you probably open up quite a difficult situation for yourself if you asked for directions to the local AA meeting, wouldn't you? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but going again, touching on what you said before, is treat this as an opportunity for relaxing, really, and to recharging, a bit of spoil yourself. So go on those holidays that maybe have a spa weekend involved and things where you can sort of treat yourself a little bit nicely rather than charging off around the bars, and taking that local culture, because there are ways of doing that with that aren't involved in going via lots of bars and breweries. Yeah,
you just got to retrain yourself, haven't you?
You do. I mean, if you consider the situation, I used to come back off of holiday and think, I need another holiday. You need a holiday from your holiday. And so it's a sort of if you do go on holiday whilst you're in recovery, do try and relax and to treat it as an antidote to that feeling you're going to get when you get home of being needing another one as soon as you step off the plane.
Yeah, one of the nicest things about holidays is coming home, though, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, it used to stress me out.
Did it?
Again, the travelling aspect of it. But yeah, it was always nice to get home, especially if you've been away for 2 weeks. I used to find that quite a long time. I found 10-day holidays were about right.
Yeah. The only kind of 2-week holidays that I used to go on were scout camp when I was a child, and they were basically just all endurance, really. You know, if you could just about tolerate it for 2 weeks and get home in one piece, you were lucky. You know, without getting staked out in the sun and having jam rolled on your chest so that the wasps will come and sting you or something like that.
Yeah. Lovely days, lovely memories.
Happy days, or getting tied into your sleeping bag and thrown in the stingers.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that was part of the growing up in the scouting movement
in the 1970s.
Yeah, getting thrown in the Stingers badge was one I got very early on. Yeah, I think a sober holiday you get to remember it as well. Which there's so many places I've been to that I vaguely remember, and I just didn't enjoy them. As I'd like to go back to some of these places to have a proper holiday. I
mean, you went to some nice places, didn't you? That you've forgotten some nice places.
I have forgotten some very nice, some far-flung places. Yeah. But I can remember some of the anxiety of being on a plane for 9 hours. Awful.
You're like the antithesis of Alan Wicker. Where you go and tell us everything that was happening there and what places were like. You go and you come back, you'd be like, I've got no idea. I can't tell you anything.
No, I'm sure I went there. But yeah, I don't know what it was like. In fact, when talking about sober holidays, if you go Google it, there aren't any estate agents or anything that do holidays for people in recovery.
Really?
There's very few options to tap into.
Maybe it's a business opportunity for us there.
Well, I did think that, but we'll have to go and do a bit of research on the places you can go and stay sober.
Basra?
The Basra is one of them.
Well, you can go anywhere and stay sober. I think I'm quite surprised that doesn't exist, because you'd think there would be some sort of, obviously it's difficult to go somewhere where there's no alcohol available, but going somewhere and arranging stuff that is interesting and entertaining to do for people that doesn't involve drinking, I would have thought there's a market there, isn't there?
Yeah, but you'll do well to find anyone that specialises in it. In fact, when you put in sober holidays, you get initially directed to there's a place in Spain called Sober, and they're trying to flog your holidays to go there.
Oh well, if there are any travel agents listening, there you go. You can have that one on us.
Yeah. We'll have a little stake in it, obviously.
Well, you'd go.
A few royalties.
You'd go.
Yes, I would. I'd be a rep. I would go repping on those sort of holidays. Try and keep everyone. I could have little meetings out there beside the pool, keep everyone safe.
You could be a red coat, couldn't you?
Yeah. I could do a bit of all-round entertaining.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So come on then, what about gratitude?
My gratitude is very easy this week, because I was able to see Lizzie and her partner Jake this morning.
Nice.
They obviously live a little bit away from here, and it's the first time since the lockdown was eased back in August where they're able to do a little bit of travelling. So it was lovely. So I haven't seen the pair of them for many months. So that was absolute joy to see them this morning.
Did you go for a little walk?
We did, yes.
Yeah. Where did you go?
Just around the local areas, really. Just
did you go to Cuckoo Woods? Have you still not been into Cuckoo Woods yet?
Yeah, I've been through to Cuckoo Woods. Yeah, I've been through there a lot on my own. Yeah, but it's not so clever. A guy walking on his own through the woods looks a bit suspect,
especially with that hat on.
With this hat on, yeah, I'll get banged up straight away. But what about yourself then?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm grateful for this week. Yesterday, I was, like sometimes you can fall down a bit of a rabbit hole on YouTube.
Yes.
You're watching a video and then another one's recommended. You think, I'll have a look at that. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details, but I was in such a rabbit hole yesterday and I ended up finding this video, which was a TED talk actually by a guy I can't remember the title of it, but the basis of it was this is a presentation that proves that all those people who think they can't draw can draw. And you know that I am someone who resolutely believes I can't draw.
Yes.
And so I thought, I'll have a look at this. And it was this guy teaching you to draw cartoons. And he's showing you how to do it. I mean, it's not, Michelangelo, but I thought I'll have a go at this. And it was 15 minutes well spent, because by the end of it, I had all these cartoons that I'd drawn. I thought they look really good. So I felt very grateful for, what did I feel grateful for? YouTube and someone giving me a little bit of confidence to do something that I don't think I can do. Because he said quite rightly at the end of it, if you're held back by your belief that you can't draw, what else are you being held back by?
It played nicely into your sort of narrative there, didn't it?
It did play into my narrative. I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm not thinking that I'm suddenly a great artist, but being able to put 2 or 3 strokes together and come out with something that is at least recognisable as a face is, in my view, progress.
So what do you reckon come up under, when I put holidays into Spotify search?
Madonna.
Straight in there.
Cliff Richard.
Straight in there, yeah.
Counting Crows, Holiday in Spain.
That did come up, but I haven't got that on my list.
Yeah, it's a great song. Hang on, I'm not finished yet.
I'm not going to rush you.
Oh, of course, the classic 10cc Dreadlock Holiday.
Exactly. Yeah, that came up.
There can't be any better than those 4, excluding the Cliff Richard one.
I disagree, because what about Holidays in the Sun by the Sex Pistols? Absolute anthem.
Not really. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of raucous music, as you know.
Okay, what about Holiday in Cambodia by the Dead Kennedys, which is just a fantastic track?
No, thanks.
Don't fancy that one.
No.
But there's a track called Holiday by the Subways, which again, I know nothing about the Subways, and so I've listened to several of their tracks. And it's a band I'm sort of discovering, and that was brilliant.
I've been through some Subways, but I'm not familiar with the Subways as an act. No, but I thoroughly recommend them. What's your favourite? What's your favourite Subway? Just while we're on it.
Not the elongated,
not the
roll.
sandwich, the actual underpass. Favourite Subway?
Favourite Subway? I like the one up by Pennington Heath that's always sort of muddy.
Yeah.
And I've taken pictures along there because you can see the light literally see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you can get some nice pictures there.
I like that. That's a good choice of Subway. I like the Subways down by the river when they flood, because I always think they look quite dramatic.
They do look just because I often think there's just a little gap at the top. You could swim through there.
Yeah.
You could just about get through, or swim through on your back and just use to get a bit of air through, just through the gap.
I couldn't. I'm a hopeless swimmer. I wouldn't make it through that subway. I'll be dead.
No.
And of course, when these subways aren't full of water, they smell of piss.
They do. That washes it away, doesn't it, with the river floods? And the river breaks its banks. One of the massive advantages, it gets rid of the piss. The piss smells. But my choice for this week, my overall choice for a holiday song was "Every Day Is a Holiday" by an Aussie band called Dope Lemon. But they're featuring someone called Winston Surfshirt, which I thought was a great name.
Winston Surfshirt. What kind of what kind of music is it?
It's sort of indie, almost hip hoppy. Yeah.
What are they called again? Because I think the sound went a bit there. What are they called?
Yeah. The main group is Dope Lemon, which
Dope
is
Lemon.
I don't like the sort of potential drug reference there, but Dope Lemon featuring Winston Surfshirt. Every day is a holiday. I recommend it.
I might listen to that. Have you put it on your playlist?
I haven't, but I haven't got my playlist together yet. As we discussed last week, once I've got an album's worth, I should get it on there, get it together.
The name of that band, Dope Lemon, the dope bit might actually mean good, mightn't it? It might mean good.
It could
lemon.
be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It's the way you interpret it.
Yeah, exactly. Or it might just mean stupid lemon.
It could do. There's one more I thought you'd have come up with, because I know it's one of your favourite holiday type tracks.
Yeah, go on, here we go.
Hooray, hooray, it's a holly holiday by Boney M. I thought you'd have been straight in with that one.
Yeah, I don't know what year that was, but But when I think of Boney M, I always think of Ma Baker because I'm pretty sure that was, well, it was either number one or high in the charts when I was on the scout camp I was referring to earlier, when it wasn't me, but someone was staked out and had jam spread on their chest to attract the wasps. That was 1970.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Happy days.
You better go you better go and see to your gammon, Ben. You?
I've got to sort my gammon out. Yeah.
Yeah. You go and sort your gammon out, and I'm going to go and plant some basil.
Excellent work.
All right.
It's a wrap.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.